Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Building a Nation with Team Canada. And today we have a special end of season video for the 2021 campaign. Now, in the last episode you saw the actual end of our season with Vancouver as we ended up losing to LA Galaxy in the playoffs. We went over a little bit of our team statistics and stuff like that. So now we can kind of step back and maybe look at the league a little bit more in focus. And then, we got a couple of other things to look at the end of the video as well. So, as far as the league goes, the MLS playoffs did continue, even though Vancouver got knocked out. And as you can see here in the Western Conference Finals, LA Galaxy defeated LAFC. So in the Battle of El Tráfico there, let's take a look at the stages. That's what I'm looking for. The playoff tree. Everybody loves a playoff tree. So, first round, LA Galaxy, Houston, and LAFC all move on. Second round, of course, LA Galaxy defeats Vancouver in penalties. LAFC defeats Houston 1-0 in a close affair there. And then El Tráfico for the third or fourth or fifth time this season, who knows. LA Galaxy gets their revenge by beating LAFC 1-0 to move on to the finals, the MLS Cup finals. And speaking of that, we can take a look at the Eastern Conference, see how the Eastern Conference went. Toronto FC got the bye, so it's two pretty good Canadian teams in the regular season, both teams getting the bye. Columbus, Atlanta, and New York Red Bull move on in the first round. New York City, Montreal Impact lose in the first round, as does Philadelphia. In the semifinals, Toronto beats Columbus 1-0. Atlanta beats New York Red Bull 2-0. And then Atlanta beats Toronto 2-1 to make it to the MLS final. And that's how they won it, I guess. That's how Atlanta United beat LA Galaxy for their second MLS championship. So, some pretty interesting stuff going on. Teams that made it were pretty much the teams that were expected to make it. That's kind of interesting. You don't see that every year. We can take a look at the season preview and look at the top of the league. Atlanta, New York City, New York Red Bull, LAFC, Toronto FC. All of those teams made the playoffs. Toronto obviously made the conference finals. LAFC made their conference finals. Atlanta United, they won it all. So what can you say? I guess, these season previews, the media, they knew what they were talking about. They got things mostly correct. The one big glaring thing they got wrong, of course, was Vancouver picked 17th, and we won the Supporter Shield. So, yeah, we can blame them for that, but who would have ever picked Vancouver when you looked at our roster, all those teenagers? But hey, you can't blame the media for not believing, I guess. We can, but we won't. Let's see. What else do we want to look at here? Some interesting things. Some people have been talking about the coaches in the comments. They want to see a little bit more about the coaches. Can't go over every single coach in the league, but we can look at some interesting developments. Let's see. Transfers. There have been a lot of head coach movements this year. Take a look at them all. There's been a bunch. Atlanta United, the team that wins the league, they switch coaches midway through the year. In July, they bring in Wilmer Cabrera. Out is Jason Bent. Atlanta's had a ton of coaching movement. Take a look at their head coaches here. Frank DeBoer, out after 1 year. And then they moved on to Rafa Benitez. He went out. He won an MLS Cup for him. The interesting thing is, Frank DeBoer wins 2 league titles and then leaves. Rafa Benitez wins an MLS Cup and then leaves. So it hasn't really been Atlanta United's fault per se. But then they bring in Matias Almeida. He gets sacked after just about a year. Bring in Jason Bent. He gets sacked after just about a year. And they bring good old Wilmer Cabrera. Manages to win the league. 131 days, that's all it takes. And, I guess, stability is overrated. Who can say? LAFC, they sacked Andre Villas-Boas earlier this year, brought in Dominic Torrent. We didn't have a ton of problems against Torrent. We had much more problems against Villas-Boas, but there we go. Look at Bob Bradley, 290 days and sacked. Poor old Bob. And then they let Andre coach for 3 years. He got a league win, but I guess that wasn't enough. Dominic Torrent comes in 123 days, reaches the Western Conference Finals, but that wasn't enough. Take a look at old Bob Bradley, see what he's up to these days. He's assistant coach at Chicago Fire. How the mighty have fallen. That's too bad for Bob Bradley. I mean, I don't know. His attributes aren't that great, honestly. I mean, he's good mental, good working with youngsters, man management. He's definitely a man management kind of coach, so I guess he can see why he's an assistant coach. But it just, I don't know, it doesn't seem to fit his personality. He doesn't have an assistant coach type personality. Let's see. Is there anything else we can look at this way? Let's see. Head coaches. So Chicago, as far as head coaches go, they've been pretty solid. Paunovic coached for 3 years and 200 days before he left. And then Chris Aramis has been for 2 years. So not a lot of turnover at Chicago. Atlanta United, we saw their turnover. FC Cincinnati, how about this? Coke has lasted 4 years, 331 days. There's a shocker. He was out like in real life pretty quick. So FC Cincinnati is bucking the trend here. Colorado also very loyal to Anthony Hudson, 3 years. He's been the coach there. Columbus Crew. Interesting. Greg Berhalter was sacked after 304 days. Interesting. Back in 2019, I didn't realize that. And then they hired Mauro Biello after he's been there for 1 year. What's Greg Berhalter up to these days? He's the head coach in Portland. So he was the USA coach till just 1 year, till 2019. He came back to Columbus and then was sacked, and now he's at Portland, I guess. I don't know, sort of a rocky road for Greg Berhalter there. Interesting. DC United. Diego Maradona, of course, has made an appearance. He's back in the league. Been with DC United basically since the end of the season, just 68 days. Ben Olsen was sacked after 8 glorious years, and now he's coaching at RSL. So you can just get the feeling of this coaching movement, just players all over the place. Luchi Gonzalez left after 3 years, 1 league win, 1 cup win. Mike Petke came in, got a cup win for them. Houston Dynamo. Wilmer Cabrera, we saw him. He left. He's now at Atlanta. He was there for 4 years. And now they've got Peter Vermees as the head coach in Houston. You know, that could be a good fit in Houston. He did a decent job wherever he's been, but we'll see. Houston finished pretty good this season, but he was only there for the end of it, so we'll see. Next year will be a big year for Peter Vermees and Houston. Is there anybody else worth looking at? Oh, there's LA Galaxy. I mean, you know they're going to switch coaches. They're going to switch coaches every 300 days. They switched a new coach. Nico Estevez is their current coach. We'll see how long that lasts. LAFC, we looked at them, right? Yeah, Bob Bradley. Yeah. Adrian Heath at Minnesota has been there the whole time. 4 years, 347 days. Montreal Impact, they sacked Biello after 154 days. Remy Gard left. Where did Remy go? He went to Bordeaux. for 2 seasons, 2019, 2020, 2021, so 3 seasons. They now have Sergio Boris. Portuguese, yeah. So, a lot of movement in MLS when it comes to coaches. It's interesting to see a few of them have stuck around forever, but yeah. I'm not sure what else to look at for the rest of the league. I mean, we pretty much looked at stats and all that stuff. So let's take a look now at the national team, because we got a couple of interesting matches coming up. We've got 2 friendlies coming up. So we've called up a couple of players, and we're going to take a look at some interesting team selections. So we're going to be playing Aruba in the first game, and then we're going to get a little bit of a tougher game in the second one against Nigeria. So we're going to play these very quickly and just sort of look at the players and talk about the players as we go through. So let's get to the team selection and get to the game. So we're going to go with the number 2 formation. Going to get a little bit more offensive this time around, because it's just friendlies and we're just trying some stuff out. One interesting or terrible thing, Borjan had a little bit of an injury coming into this training camp, so we're not going to play him at all. We're going to give our other goalkeepers a chance. We'll submit that team. And, our first team against Aruba is going to be not the first team. It's going to be the pretty much the reserves. So we got St. Clair in the goal. Dane St. Clair. He's been on the bench forever for Team Canada, playing in the Canadian Premier League. But recently he's made a move to Nashville. So we'll see if that helps his development at all. Doesn't look like it. His potential ability has dropped. So I think Dane St. Clair is sort of maxed out here, and we'll be looking for another young third goalkeeper in the future. But here we go. We got a lot of familiar names in the lineup. Zlatkovic and Ahmed, both Vancouver players. Romeo, Rocco. We're going to just call him Rocco from now on. In defense, Julian Dunn. I'm looking at this guy. We might pick him up. He's not getting enough playing time in Toronto, so we might make some moves here. Noble Okello, another guy we're looking at, we might pick up from Toronto. There might be a lot of moves this year from Toronto to Vancouver. We'll take a look at that. Mark Anthony Kay in the midfield. Brim on the left. Brim might also move out this year. He's getting some sniffs from Europe. Petrasso on the right. He should be in the team a little bit more. We don't have a ton of right wingers. He's a pretty decent right winger. Hamilton, and then the youngster Craig Smith up top. So let's get to the dressing room. We're going to play this one on limited highlights and just try to make our way through it. All right, everything there looks fine. Tunnel, send the assistant, play, let's go. Make sure we're on key highlights. There we go. So this should be a couple of quick games, and if we need to, we can edit for time. So we have to start making a few transitions here when it comes to Team Canada. I don't want to make too many transitions, of course, because we have the Olympics coming up. But we got to look, not the Olympics. I keep saying the Olympics, the World Cup. The World Cup. After the World Cup, there are some older players we're going to have to think about, moving along. Our field to name, the top priority at that position. But yeah, there's going to be some changing of the guard, but not a ton of changing of the guard. Because we still have a lot of young players on this team. And there's Zlatkovic, one of the guys we're going to have to get more playing time to. He's just continuing to improve. If I could move him on to a European team, I might do that. Right now, only MLS teams are interested in Zlatkovic, which is a little surprising because he's so good. He's improving so much. Look at that. He's already up to 3.5 stars. This kid is a workhorse. He's a gym rat. He does nothing but train. He's kicking out like perfect 10s in training camp. Just on the regular, not just once in a while, but especially at the end of the season, he just kicks out week after week, 9.98, 9.97, 10.0, 10.0. He's just a beast when it comes to training. And he's still only 18 years old. I can't imagine why some teams in Europe haven't come after this guy. Technically, he's still not the greatest player you've ever seen. But man, he's so good. He's got so much potential. You'd think people would want to take a look at him. And honestly, Ahmed is not that far behind him. All right, here is ARUBA. Are we taking ARUBA too lightly is the question. Probably not, but currently we're not scoring a lot. Here's Smith. 1 on 3. Can he score? Nope. Smith is an interesting guy. He's not like a dominant goal scorer type striker, but he's just got so many interesting abilities. He should be able to score against a team like ARUBA. That's why I have him in there. You know, his first game up, he got a hat trick. So we'll see what he can do. Here's Brim with the corner. Nope, not so good. You know, I think of these players sometimes in terms of classes, right? You like a recruiting class in college, where you've got you know, the veteran players, and then you've got sort of the mid-career players, the early career players, and then the youngsters, of course. And a lot of our sort of early career players, the guys who are 21 to 24 years old, they need to start getting their opportunities at the club level. They need to start getting their opportunities at the international level as well. 0-0 for ARUBA is not so good. We will be assertive. I'm looking for standards to be set in these friendlies. Second half must be better. Let's go. Start the second half. So players like Akello and Dunn, they need to start getting their opportunities. And if they're not going to get them elsewhere, we might have to start bringing them in to Vancouver. You know, Dunn is he's very promising. Physically, he's the kind of guy we want. Big, strong, can jump. Technically, he's okay, but he could do better. There's Rocco. Yo, Rock. I mean, he's pretty much the same as Rocco. They're both the same age. I mean, Rocco's a little better technically. Actually, he's better. I mean, there's no question about it. He's better. He's already up to 4 stars. Mentally, he's ahead of him. Physically, he's similar, but also better. Better agility, better acceleration. Yeah. So Dunn might be, he might be looking at as a backup. But if he could make those 3 stars, or even that 4th star, he would be a very solid backup for us. We just need some opportunity. Right now, he's not getting paid very much. He's got decent value, but he just needs playing time, because we can't call him up if he never plays. There's Dunn. There we go. There's the 2 guys we were just talking about, Dunn to Rocco. If those guys could form a partnership, that'd be cool. We have a lot of young central defenders right now. A couple of them we brought in at the end of the year in terms of their international players, though, unfortunately. Ooh, Jordan Hamilton's not looking so good. We should probably make a sub there. Don't have a lot of options off the bench, so I guess we'll just bring in Hundle because he's the most fit. Have him be like, what can he do? What can he do? False 9? Yeah, he can be false 9. He's got like good passing and vision and stuff like that. I don't play with a false 9 because I don't really know exactly what they're supposed to do. I mean, I understand the concept where they're sort of supposed to be kind of a playmaker, sort of an attacking playmaker who's a striker instead of a midfielder, I suppose. But I mean, why? If you're going to do that, why not just have a midfielder? I don't know. Here's Hundo. Going to send it in. Petrasso, the little guy, using his head there. What's Petrasso look like in the air? Not so good. 5 jumping reach. What's his heading? 5 also. So I guess you can understand why that play didn't work out very well. And beating Aruba 1-0 is not great. 92 minutes, 30 seconds to go in the game. I guess defensively we did our thing. St. Clair didn't give up a goal, so that's good. Dunn, who was unfit, didn't make any horrific mistakes. But what I worry about with Team Canada is goal scoring. Are we going to have problems scoring goals? You know, obviously the last couple of times we played Mexico, we haven't scored a lot of goals, so I don't know that we currently have that top-tier goal scorer that we need. All right, so there is that game. Interesting game from the youngsters. Ahmed didn't play very well, 6.2 rating, but Zlatkovic played outstanding. Romeo, player of the match, 8.3 rating and a goal. Dunn, 7.5 rating. So everybody played very well on defense except for Ahmed. St. Clair only faced 2 shots, so he definitely was up to that task. Okello played okay. Midfield played okay. Craig Smith, maybe not so much. 6.1 rating. So again, I think going forward we're going to be searching for strikers. All right, so we're going to pep the talk. It's a bit off. You got to step things up against better competition. That sounds about right. So we're going to get ready for Nigeria. Nigeria is a little bit of a different customer. So we'll pause here and come back for that. Okay, we're back. We got a little bit of MLS news. Award season has begun. And look at this. Junior claims MLS Coach of the Year. Outstanding MLS Coach of the Year. Zebu Jr. 35 matches, 48% win ratio. 596 coach points. Beats out Paunovic and Adrian Heath from Minnesota. So all Western Conference coaches. That's interesting. Take a look at some of the other awards this year. Goalkeeper of the Year, Fernandez from LAFC. No surprise there. 23 shutouts on the season's pretty good. Bono played very well for TFC. 11 shutouts, 7.0 rating, and then Andre Blake. Is he still playing at Philadelphia? No, I didn't think so. He's at Seattle now. So yeah, he's bouncing around the league a little bit. Let's see, what else do we got? Defender of the Year, Maury from Minnesota. That's an interesting choice. 9 goals from central defense. That's pretty good. That'll get you some votes for sure. Birnbaum from TFC and Oro from TFC. So as you can see, Toronto played excellent defense this year. They had 2 defenders. I guess they probably sort of ate up each other's voting points. But even if you combine their voting points, they wouldn't have beaten out Maury. So he had a dominant year at defense. I guess anytime you score 9 goals is pretty good. Let's see, Landon Donovan Award. Andy Renomota from Houston, 23-year-old Englishman. 26 appearances, 7 goals, 10 assists. I mean, I guess that's okay. He beat out our man Venuto again for 2nd year in a row. Venuto's come in 2nd place. Venuto had 10 goals, 8 assists, 7.35 rate. So I don't know why Venuto didn't win it, honestly. More goals. So he's got 3 more goals, 2 less assists, and a better average rating. So I don't know what's going on here. Who's this Renomota guy? Renomota, Andy. He's a midfielder, 19 work rate, 18 fitness, 18 stamina. He runs all day long for sure. This guy never quits. He's okay. Where's he from? He is from Reading, Came over last year for $12.5 million. Had a very similar. We're looking at last year's. Why are we looking at last year's awards? Has the award not yet come out? 2021, because that's last year's stats right here. Okay, so I guess only Coach of the Year has come up. Let me take a look. Coach of the Year. I don't know what's going on. Wait, it's Goalkeeper of the Year. Coach of the Year. 2021 to 2021. MLS Best 11. I don't know. Can't trust any of these numbers. Can't trust any of these awards yet. Just, I don't know what's happening. Anyway, let's get to some other stuff. Some other stuff happened. Meanwhile, we had some friendlies. The under-23s played a friendly versus Nigeria under-23s. Lost 3-0. Zachary Broguiard dropped down there. Hakkinen dropped down there. Unfortunately, Baldissimo's in there. Frazier, familiar with this guy. Another guy we might look at in the offseason. His contract's coming up with TFC. I don't know. He's reached his potential at 23 years old, so we might just let him go. If he doesn't get picked up by a team, then we'll figure something out. Broguiard is also available on a free transfer, 22 years old, so we might pick him up. I don't know. There's, like I said, that age group, 21 to 24, not doing so well currently. Faria got picked up to Mateo, Jonathan David. So the problem with these under 23s is they picked up a lot of guys that I left off the senior team purposefully because they were nursing injuries. So Jonathan David just came back from an injury, so I didn't want to call him up, but they called him up. Hakkinen just came back from an injury. Under 23s called him up. Yeah, so I should have been a little more strict with their call-ups. Anybody else of interest? There we go. Adonijah Reed, an interesting call-up. A guy who was on injured reserve pretty much all year for Vancouver. So we got to figure out what to do with him. We have got other wingers who've passed him by, unfortunately. Hendricks, Diego Hendricks, one of our youngsters, 18 years old. He could be the next Team Canada striker. He's got 14 finishing, 15 bravery. He could use a little better composure and first touch and stuff like that, but he's got the finishing that we need. So we'll see what he can do at 18 years old. Anunye, another, the mystery man, the guy we're just unable to purchase this guy. So I'm pretty sure, like I've said before, he's going through the MLS draft thing, but that means it could be another 3 years before we're able to call him up or do anything with him. So that's interesting. So yeah, it's 0-3 versus Nigeria. Then our under-20s also played. They beat Aruba 4-0. And then lost to Nigeria 3-4. It's an interesting game. Look at some of these names. Eric, our 16-year-old goalkeeper from our academy. He's up to 13 reflexes now, so he's doing much better. Berg, guy we traded to Toronto, 20 years old now. Hasn't really improved much at Toronto, so that's disappointing. Thomas, another one of our central defenders at our academy, 17 years old. Improving, getting better. 11 tackling, marking, heading. So that's pretty decent for a 17-year-old. There's Serbeli E. Lord Johnson. Elliot Lord Johnson. That's an interesting name. TFC 3, 18 years old. He's got some potential. He's not quite that fast or that great, so we'll let him do whatever he's doing. Senior, Darren Senior, another one of our academy players who's playing with the first team. 2.5 stars these days. Another promising striker/winger. Kendall Stankovic got in there. Daniel Valente scored a goal. Another one of our youngsters. Haywood got called back. He hasn't been on many teams for Team Canada. He's only got 2 under-20 caps. He's sort of the best-kept secret in Canada. We need to play him more. Lemire, so yeah, a lot of familiar names on that team as well. So let's get to today's match preview versus Nigeria. We know their under-20s and under-23s are pretty good, but how good is Nigeria? Take a look at their profile. They are tied for 19th in the world. So that's pretty good. The Super Eagles, 156 million in population, so they got a good population to draw from. And in Africa, there's so many African Cups that get played like seemingly all year round that they get a lot of playing time with their senior team. So that's the kind of thing I think North America is trying to duplicate a little bit, is just to have competitions for their international teams much more often. So anyway, this is going to be a big challenge for us today, going against Nigeria. We have not played them yet. It's going to be 82 and calm. We're going to be playing in Nigeria, so that's an interesting away game. Head coach, Abidun Goodwin. Sure. Why not? 33 years old. He looks like a regen. Not the greatest coach. Good working with youngsters, good discipline, but other than that, not really what you would call international level coach. So we should have the coaching advantage on these boys, but we'll see if we have any sort of playing advantage. So we are going to go with the 4-4-2. See how that works for us. Submit that team. And let's go. Going to be playing without Borjan, as I mentioned, without David. So we got a little bit of an interesting lineup in there. Speaking of interesting lineup, they're going with the 4-3-1-2, sort of a narrow formation. Yorfa, I recognize this guy. He plays for Wolves. He was a pretty good player for the Wolves. He's currently playing at Brentford, I guess. But yeah, good pace, acceleration. I remember playing with this guy when I played with the Wolverhampton Wolves. Ahmed Musa, pretty good striker, 17 pace, 18 acceleration. Yeah, the Nigerian team is known for having a lot of speed. But anyway, we're going with Lutweiler in goal, Cabra, Henry, Jaguar, and Tamori. So that's going to be our starting defense for a while now until somebody else breaks into the lineup. Maybe Rocco might break into this lineup and overtake Jaguar, but we shall see. Cabra is now by far our most valuable player at $22.5 million now, playing for Bruges. So he's continuing to improve. Midfield, Davies is back from that injury. He's fully healed, no problems here. He's playing in his club team. He's still at Bayern, still playing at Bayern. Let's see what he's doing this year. Bayern 2. 6 appearances. The season just started, but last year he had 5 goals, 4 assists, 7.05 rating. That's pretty good for a fullback/winger. Piet taking the captain's armband. Norman Osario in the midfield. Hundel going to be playing that deep line playmaker role. Going to try him out at that. And then Millar up top. Millar might be our top striker going forward. The guy we recently switched over from England to Canada, 15 pace, 14 finishing, composure. He's just more of a traditional striker and scorer than anybody else on the team. So let's see what he can do. Dressing room, pep talk, good luck. Nobody expects the results, so go out there and enjoy yourself. No. We've got nothing to lose here. Let's be passionate and say we got nothing to lose here. Let's show everyone what we're made of. Okay, nobody cares about that. Position instructions. Yeah, it's weird with no wingers how we're going to play this, but I guess we'll do that. Michael doesn't look like he's coming forward. Yeah. Okay. Kickoff. Interesting looking stadium. Not a lot of fans in the crowd. Guess they don't particularly care for friendlies in Nigeria. They got so many real cups that they could be watching. Why watch a meaningless friendly, I suppose? One thing we got to keep track of is Cabra is only supposed to play 45 minutes. You know, his club team made that demand of us, so I got no problem with that. I got no problem with saying, okay, we will respect that demand. Here we go. First highlight. Bala sends it in. Oh, there's a penalty on the back post. Perhaps. Cabra. Yep. Penalty. Let's see what Lutweiler can do in his first real strife. He goes the right way, but not nearly good enough. Bala. Michael Bala steps to the spot and easily scores. All right, get out of here. Get out of here. So again, we're down early against a top-flight opponent. It's nice to not be playing Mexico, but it would also be nice if Davies dropped it off to Millar, who scores. He does score. He does score. I just sort of said that out of wishful thinking. But there we go. Millar. Like I said, he might be earning that top spot. You know, I think the thought that Sean Hundle would be our top striker is no more. You know, he hasn't proved himself in MLS. He didn't prove himself with the senior team last year. He didn't score a ton of goals. He scored a few, but I don't think he scored any against top competitions. Oh, there's Cabra redeeming himself. Look at Lutweiler with the diving save. Cabra and Lutweiler teaming up to keep that ball out of the net. That's outstanding. You know, Cabra now, he's got somebody to push him at fullback. For most of these seasons, it's been him or like nobody who's anywhere close to as good as he is. But now that we got Zlatkovic, who's not, I mean, let's admit it, he's not as good as Cabra is at all. But he can at least push him. He can, you know, give us something much different than what Cabra gives us. You know, Lutweiler is just a much bigger, much more physical player. Not nearly as good. Ugh, and Cabra gets a straight red. I think he just didn't want to be here. That's our problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to take Hundle out. And bring in said Zlatkovic. That's, you know, we were just talking about it. If Cabra is going to act like that, then we got Zlatkovic here to at least be a solid player for us. Technically, he's nowhere near as good. Physically, he's better. Mentally, you know, he's a youngster. He's 18 years old. But still, he's got potential. Okay, so that's no good. Gets a red card. Gets a penalty and a red card in a friendly. I don't know. We gotta worry about his attitude, I think. That's no good. Let's see if we can get out of half with a 1-1. Bala to Ndidi, Iwobi, Kingsley. Looks like they're being pretty patient here. Nigeria out wide. Sends one in. Nope, Piet wins that one. Piet doing his defensive thing. Ball winning midfielder. Let's win the ball. Nope. Lutweiler lets one through. I don't know. I get the feeling that Borjan might have stopped that one. I mean, Lutweiler made one great save. He stood on his head and stopped that other one. But this one seemed like a stoppable shot. You know, he didn't get too close. Top of the box. Lutweiler, he was there. He just missed it. Unfortunate. Probably why he's not playing for Blackburn much. Is he still at Blackburn? No, he is not. Where's Lutweiler at these days? contracted to Forge FC, so he's made the move over to Canadian Premier League. How about that? Yeah. So we're definitely on the lookout for more goalkeepers. Luckily, we got a bunch of young goalkeepers, but still, no one is ready to replace Borjan at this point in time. Tamori's made a lot of mistakes. Jaguar's not looking too great. Norman's not playing well. Only Davies and Millar are playing well, apparently. They got the assist in the goal. Defensively, not looking good. Our second team defense looked much better. But that was against ARUBA, so what can you say? All right, 2-1's not terrible. The fact that we're down 10 men, but still. We need more spirit and fight out there. Here we go. Fire up. Let's go. Start second half. So the problem is that this was pretty much the best team we could put out there, other than, you know, David and Cavallini's not here. But other than that, we had, I mean, I didn't call up Arfield either in the midfield. There's Norman with a steal. Norman, off the crossbar. Oh boy, that could have been an excellent goal if he had scored that one. Especially since we were just talking about his position, back post. No good. Asario wins it again, but sort of panicked there on the end. That was a good attack. Several good chances there. Yeah, so we're not missing a ton of players. I mean, most of this team are our starters, or at least starter quality. And yet, I don't know. It's hard to judge since we're down to 10 men. It's very hard to judge. It was 1-1 before Cabra went out of his mind. And even then, he was the reason they scored the one goal. So it could be, without Cabra, it could be 1-0 for Team Canada. Yeah, it's hard to tell from a friendly, so not going to take anything too seriously here, but still would like to win one of these against a top-flight opponent. It would just make everybody feel so much better, myself included, to say, look, we can beat a top-flight team. So far, that hasn't happened. So is it the players? Is it the coaching? You know, I was looking around at you know, some tactics here and there, and I don't want to like download a tactic, obviously. I was looking at just some hints on like how to beat Mexico, and I couldn't really find any tutorials on how to beat Mexico in soccer. The one thing I was looking at, oh, Tamori almost scored that one, was a couple years ago they lost 3-0 to Sweden in the World Cup. And, you know, there was a lot of talk, a lot of debate about that game and how to play against it, how to play against Mexico. And basically, from the Mexican point of view, it was like, this is ugly soccer. This is people not playing football. They're just playing sit back and bomb it forward to very tall blonde men. You know, it's like that was their sort of look at it, was at least the coach at the time, his look at it was, you know, this is anti-football sort of situation. So I don't know if we can play that. We do have some big players, but not necessarily big enough or strong enough to dominate Mexico. We've tried that in the past, but it doesn't really translate well to Football Manager. So I don't know. So 2-1 to Nigeria, down 10 men, I guess is not the worst. Ndidi gets the player of the match. Contracted to Leicester City. He's pretty good, I would say. 16 tackling. I mean, he'd be our best midfielder on our team. 24 years old, too. So that's pretty good. So Lutweiler, maybe not the option at goal, but he did only let in 2 goals. One not so good, one not his fault, really. Penalty. Defense played okay. Zlatkovic came in, didn't play very well. Obviously, Cabra didn't play very well. So, yeah. Gotta take these experiences and try to learn from them. So, what can we learn from this game? It's hard because we went down to 10 men, so I don't really know if we learned anything from this game, unfortunately. We learned we might have a problem with Cabra. He might not want to play on Team Canada anymore. I don't know. Like, why would his management say he can only play 45 minutes and then he immediately gets a red card and gives up a penalty? Something wrong with Cabra. That is not good. All right, but that is the end of 2021. Canada duty has ended. We've qualified for the World Cup. We won the Gold Cup. We won the MLS Supporters Shield. So it was an excellent season. Not a perfect season. We still got things to work on, but we have made strides, made improvements this year, and we're going to see if 2022 can be an even bigger and better year. So, until then, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.